Good afternoon, and welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program.
The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
The News at Noon program assembles the best and most interesting news from the area, offers intriguing content for its viewers, and provides local weather for the Four Corners region. What do you think? Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
I'm Kendra Cook, and my co-hosts are Kelsey Kiesling here at the desk and Jerry Tope with your detailed weather. Now, here's our special Thursday edition of the news for July 7th, 2016. In political news from thehill.com, Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn, Republican of Texas, and our Senator Cory Gardner, Republican of Colorado, today introduced a bill to strip Hillary Clinton of her security clearance, joining a growing chorus of Republican lawmakers who say she is unfit to handle classified information. Cornyn said in a press release, "When individuals mishandle our country's most sensitive information, they jeopardize national security and shouldn't be trusted with such an important responsibility." The bill comes 2 days after FBI Director James Comey ripped Clinton's recklessness in using a private email server when she served as Secretary of State, though Comey did not recommend criminal charges against Clinton. Republicans in Congress have seized on revoking Clinton's security clearances as one line of attack against the presumptive Democratic presidential nominee. They are also pressing for the release of transcripts from the FBI's interview with Clinton. The GOP bill would not only revoke Clinton's security credentials, but also those of some of her closest aides. Colorado Senator Gardner said in a statement, "If the FBI won't recommend action based on its findings, Congress will. At the very least, Secretary Clinton should not have access to classified information, and our bill makes sure of it." Comey himself seemed to suggest that Clinton and her aides could be subject to administrative punishment, but the precise meaning of his statement remains a topic of fierce debate. He described how Mrs. Clinton violated the law, saying 110 emails and 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information at the time they were sent or received. 8 of those chains contained information that was top secret at the time they were sent, 36 chains contained secret information at the time, and 8 contained confidential information. FBI Chief James Comey is testifying on the Clinton email probe hearing before the House committee today.
According to the Cortez Journal, for the past 3 years, the Montezuma County Commission has been asserting county jurisdiction of the historic Dolores-Norwood Road, where it passes through 10 miles of the San Juan National Forest north of Dolores. The county claims jurisdiction under revised Statute 2477, which dates to the 1872 mining law that established public rights of way. They want ownership to provide improved maintenance, to allow ATV use, and to eliminate commercial transportation fees charged by the U.S. Forest Service. While the county believes it has jurisdiction, the Forest Service says they must submit a RS 2477 claim proving the road existed before the San Juan National Forest was established in 1905. A court then makes a final ruling. The county hired Andrew Gulliford, a history and environmental studies professor at Fort Lewis College, to research the matter and present evidence that the Dolores-Norwood Road, Forest Road 526, was in use before 1905. Last month, Gulliford, along with co-author Chris Machino of Locus Dynamics Research, presented their findings claiming use of the road predates the establishment of the forest. The Lone Cone Road, also known as the Dolores-Norwood Road, began as an historic Ute Indian Trail corridor and evolved into a public wagon road. This report proves historic public use of the Lone Cone Road and patenting of private lands along its route prior to 1905. Some highlights of the report. The 1875 Hayden Survey drew the trail for the map of the region occupied by the ancient ruins in southern Colorado, Utah, and northern New Mexico and Arizona, which was published with the 1877 Hayden Atlas. This is probably the first map that shows the Ute Indian Trail, which would become the Lone Cone Road used by ranching families for decades. Traveled for more than a century, the exact alignment varied from time to time, but it is continually reflected on Colorado maps from 1875 to 1905. By 1881, Nell's new topographical and township map of the state of Colorado shows the big bend of the Dolores River and the Indian Trail/Lone Cone route headed north on the east side of Lone Mesa. Rico, Parrot, Mancos, and Fort Lewis are seen on the map, but Cortez and Montezuma County do not exist. South of the Big Bend of the Dolores and south of what is now U.S. Highway 160, the trail is identified as a wagon trail, so the Lone Cone route could have been publicly used by wagons as early as 1881. The report concludes that the Lone Cone Road, later known as the Dolores-Norwood Road, may be one of the oldest public routes in southwest Colorado. It shows up on the very earliest maps, and it became a vital link connecting Montezuma, Dolores, and San Miguel counties. This document proves the Dolores-Norwood Road belongs to Montezuma County, said the County Commissioner Larry Don Suckla.
The Durango Herald article showed the correlation between jobs and suicide rates from a recent report. Farmers, lumberjacks, and fishermen have the highest suicide rate in the U.S., while librarians and educators have the lowest, according to a large study that found enormous differences across occupations. The study didn't explore the reasons behind the differences, but researchers found the highest suicide rates in manual laborers who work in isolation and face unsteady employment. High rates were also seen in carpenters, miners, electricians, and people who work in construction. Mechanics were close behind. Dentists, doctors, and other healthcare professionals had an 80% lower suicide rate than the farmers, fishermen, and lumberjacks. The recent report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is perhaps the largest U.S. study to compare suicide rates among occupations. But it is not comprehensive. It only covers 17 states, looking at about 12,300 of the more than 40,000 suicide deaths reported in the entire nation in 2012. Because of the limited data, they could only calculate suicide rates for broad occupation categories, but not for specific jobs. The categories, which sometimes seem to group professions that have little to do with each other, like athletes and artists, are based on federal classifications used for collecting jobs-related data. So it's not clear what the suicide rate is just for farmers. Suicide is the nation's 10th leading cause of death. Public attention often focuses on teens and college students, but the highest numbers and rates are in middle-aged adults. Suicide is far more common in males, and the rankings largely reflect the male suicide rates for each group. The highest female suicide rate was seen in the category that includes police, firefighters, and corrections officers. The second highest rate for women was in the legal profession. It's not the first time a suicide problem has been noted for some of the jobs. In the 1980s, media reports detailed high suicide rates in Midwestern farmers. That was attributed to a tough economy and farmers' use of pesticides that scientists have theorized may cause symptoms of depression. If you or someone you know might be suicidal, a hotline is available in Colorado 24/7 to help. It's 844-493-TALK. That's 844-493-8255.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, Cortez could see a third craft brewery come to the city in the coming months. Planning and Zoning Board members on Tuesday unanimously recommended a rezone of the properties at 101, 111, and 127 North Market Street from the Neighborhood Business Zone to Central Business District Zone. Board members also recommended an ordinance that would allow microbreweries, wineries, and distilleries in the Central Business District. The recommendations will go before the Cortez City Council, which will have the final say at their July 12th and 26th meetings. If approved, the zoning changes will make way for the Wildedge Brewing Collective microbrewery and tap room. Co-owner Tucker Robinson said he hopes to start remodeling the space for the brewery by mid-August. Quote, "We believe it will be a perfect fit for the area," unquote, Robinson told board members. The Central Business District, CBD, extends for 1 block to the north and south of U.S. Highway 160 through downtown Cortez from Linden Street to Harrison Street. The lots that were in question Tuesday share a border with the existing district and lie in the half block just north of the CBD. There are 3 buildings at the site and 2 are already occupied by businesses, City Planner Tracy Hughes said. The landowners of the adjacent buildings also endorsed the zone change. Hughes pointed out that one objective for Cortez planning is to encourage small businesses small business development in the downtown area. She said rezoning for Wildedge Brewing was in line with that objective, and board members agreed.
The Durango Herald featured an article on drones in agriculture, but not for farmers. Wildlife experts want to change the perception of drones being an annoyance to become an essential tool for conservation purposes. Gustavo Lozada, a technology and information systems manager with the Nature Conservancy in Boulder, finds drones an unbelievably useful tool. Ever since drones, or unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, became available to the general public in the early 2010s, the technology has turned into affordable and popular hobby. And though most users take drones into wildlands to capture stunning landscapes from the air, conservationists have realized their potential for preserving at-risk areas. In a 2013 TED Talk, ecologist Leanne Pincoe said drones have become the newest crime fighter against illegal poaching in Africa and Asia, allowing authorities to monitor large swaths of land while at the same time avoiding the threat of gun battles with poachers. The advantage of using drones for conservation boils down to a few key factors. The device is affordable, easy to operate, provides detailed images or video, and can capture hard-to-reach places with relative ease. Lozada, who leads a program that monitors nature preserves in Colorado, said the device is being used to map and better understand the health of forests and grasslands and to track wildlife. Federal and state land management agencies, too, have realized the possibilities drones provide for monitoring resources on public lands, though implementation of the tool is in its planning stage. Colorado Parks and Wildlife spokesman Joe Lewandowski said wildlife officials would like to use drones for a number of animal monitoring projects, such as studying the ways of the elusive Gunnison sage grouse. I would like to see that. Yet, because the technology is relatively new, it might take some time for the agency to decide how best to use it. The Bureau of Land Management's Jason Baranigan expressed a similar sentiment. Drones could help any number of initiatives, from tracking raptor nests and prairie dog colonies to finding new or invasive plants. But the agency must look for any unintended consequences first. Regulations surrounding drones also make it difficult for private operators to monitor public lands. On National Park Services and Colorado State wildlife lands, drones are explicitly banned, and conservation groups would like to institute a special permitting process for the use of the aircraft for preservation purposes. The U.S. Forest Service and BLM allow individuals to operate drones as long as they follow a set of guidelines. Both agencies have the right to institute a no-fly zone in the case of wildfires or search and rescue operations. And the Federal Aviation Administration, the agency that regulates airspace, also holds its own set of rules for drone users that make monitoring difficult, which include limited line of sight, altitude restrictions, and an outright ban on flying at night. However, new FAA rules released last month show the agency is slowly adapting to the technology. Operators can now apply for a permit to fly at night if they prove it's for a beneficial use. Little by little, the potential realized a few years ago that drones hold for preserving critical lands are coming to fruition. This, along with many other applications known and to be imagined, will be developing in the years to come.
According to the Cortez Journal, efforts to establish a volunteer fire department for West Fork residents of Dolores County are taking shape. The Dolores Fire Protection District has provided fire protection to residences up the West Fork. Last year, many residents received a letter and pricing schedule from the district listing costs. In the event, a response was requested from Dolores Fire Protection District. To resolve this and to better serve the community, Dolores County Commissioners brought together affected landowners to establish fire protection in the West Fork Valley. A number of meetings were held in the fall and winter, and it was decided to form a volunteer fire department. With the support of the fire district, Dolores County Commissioners, and the ownership and management of Dunton Hot Springs, a volunteer fire department for the West Fork is a reality, according to organizer Tommy Johnson. The Dolores and Dove Creek fire districts have planned to donate 4 trucks and sites at the Dolores County shop, and Dunton have been identified for buildings to house them. A number of Dunton employees have committed to training and serving as volunteers. A fundraiser and barbecue is scheduled for July 10th at 2 p.m. at the Dunton River Camp, where local homeowners can meet the members of the board and other volunteers, as well as view the donated trucks. Funding depends on donations and grants. Dunton River Camp is 18 miles up the West Fork from Colorado 145 on County Road 38. And now here's our weather report.
There's little change from yesterday in the satellite moisture radar images for our southwest region. The upcoming weekend will see only a very subtle difference for us. The causes of the difference is related to those fronts that are all around the clear area we are in. The weak front you see in the upper left Pacific Northwest that will track more or less straight east and will be followed by a slightly stronger one. The easterly motion of these Pacific Northwest systems continues to cause the windy conditions along the northern borders of Utah and Colorado, where red flag conditions are virtually constant. Friday, the flow over our area will begin to feel slight influences from the next Pacific Northwest system and a system in northwest Mexico. That Mexican moisture will be increasing as the system in the bottom left part of the image in the Pacific combines with the moisture coming up into northwest Mexico from central Mexico meet this weekend. This will combine with an existing upper level flow we are under from the west to draw some of that pushed Mexi-Pacific moisture toward the Continental Divide. A small increase in precipitable moisture over the Continental Divide is expected by Sunday, but the only thing we'll get is increased wind that afternoon. The Pacific Northwest system will also contribute to that increase in moisture over the Divide as it moves in Friday and Saturday with the snow possible in the higher elevations of the Cascades. Nevertheless, any increases are not now expected to be felt in our region other than over the Divide, and that's not likely to be much. So, as you can see, the cool westerly equatorial flow of La Nina is preventing the area of the Pacific that generally affects our area from sending us much rain. So, as per usual, we will see clouds flowing over us and gathering over the mountains. This trend is expected to continue for the summer and requires very strong influences from any southerly direction to significantly alter our weather patterns in the Four Corners region. For the national map, hot and muggy conditions will persist across much of the southern two-thirds of the U.S. through the end of the week. Temperatures are expected to exceed 100 degrees, especially across western Texas, eastern New Mexico, and into Oklahoma. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will be possible from the central Gulf Coast to the southeast and northward to the mid-Atlantic region. Showers and thunderstorms can be expected from the upper Mississippi Valley, the Midwest and Ohio Valley, and across the Appalachians and northeast into Saturday morning. The Storm Prediction Center has a slight risk of severe thunderstorms in place over much of the Midwest, upper Midwest, and western Ohio Valley today. An enhanced threat for Iowa, northeastern Missouri, and western Illinois. Thus, this will shift eastward on Friday, covering most of the Ohio Valley and central Appalachians. Our 5-day temperature forecast is all over the 80s for the next 5 days. The lows range from Saturday night being warmest at 54, Monday night being coolest at 46. The cooler temps you see for Monday are the effects from that increase in moisture and winds with some cloudiness we mentioned is headed for the Divide. Be fire-wise for the season because wildfire is not pleasing. Now back to the news.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, AutoZone of Cortez distribution manager Scott Hunter on Friday was recognized with a Patriot Award for his willingness to support employees who are enlisted in the National Guard and Reserve. AutoZone manager Cordell Thompson, who also works as a communication specialist for the 919th Company of the Military Police in Farmington, nominated Hunter for the award. Even though Thompson works full-time at AutoZone, Hunter allows him time off for duty, Thompson said. Hunter said Thompson does an excellent job. He said he seeks out people in the military when hiring employees, and he considers them very high-value team members. Hunter was grateful for the award, but he said the people serving in the military deserve most of the recognition. Hunter was previously a manager of an AutoZone in Ogden, Utah, near Hill Air Force Base. He employed many military service members while working in Ogden, he said. Members of the military are good employees because they have a great work ethic and are good at following instructions, Hunter said. The Employer Support of Guard and Reserve program was set up to educate employers and employees regarding the laws for military service members, said Cortez Veterans Advocate Robert Valencia. The Patriot Award recognizes those employers who have gone above and beyond in working with military employees. Employers must allow their employees time off when they are called on for military service duty, Valencia said. Their job also must be made available for them when they return from service, he said. The laws exist to protect employees and their employers, he added.
From the Durango Herald, the GMO debate continues. Still, Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders joined other Vermont leaders last Friday to celebrate the state's newly implemented law requiring labels on genetically modified food and blast proposed federal legislation that could preempt the state requirement. Vermont became the first state to require the labeling of food containing GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Vermont Senator Sanders sharply criticized the compromise bill in Congress that called for less stringent regulations and said the bill has several shortcomings. The Senate is expected to vote on the bill this week. The federal legislation would allow an electronic code on a package to stand in for a label, requiring a smartphone and internet connection for a consumer to know whether the product contains genetically modified ingredients. Many products, including corn products, beet sugar, and soy oils that are in many processed foods, could be exempt from the requirement, Sanders said. Perhaps most shockingly, and what exposes the partial nature of the legislation, this bill imposes no penalties whatsoever for violating the labeling requirement, making the legislation essentially meaningless, Sanders said. Vermont's law imposes a penalty of $1,000 per day per genetically modified product that is not labeled as required. Food producers argue the science doesn't find significant difference between foods that are genetically modified and those that are not, but they also say they don't want to end up with a patchwork of multiple state regulatory schemes. Industry groups, including the Grocery Manufacturers Association, have sued to block the Vermont law, arguing that the labeling requirement amounts to compelled speech in violation of the First Amendment. The litigation is pending in federal court. Meanwhile, food companies and retailers said they have taken steps to be in compliance as of July 1st, the start date of the state law that passed in 2014. Grocery Manufacturers Association spokesman Roger Lowe said the group hopes Congress acts quickly on the legislation. He said since the state of Vermont has given companies 30 days to correct any alleged GMO labeling violations, the immediate impact, if any, on companies in July should be limited.
According to the Durango Herald, colleges routinely force students with weak math skills to take remedial classes before enrolling in one that yields credit, a requirement that poses one of the biggest hurdles for disadvantaged Americans on the path to getting a degree. Many placed in remediation get disheartened or sidetracked and end up dropping out of college before they ever really start. New research suggests these students might fare better if they simply start in a college-level course and are given extra help on the side. A study released last week compared the effectiveness of 3 tracks offered to about 900 entering community college students in the City University of New York system who needed remedial math. Participants in the experiment were randomly assigned, one group to a remedial algebra course that did not yield credit, another to the same remedial course with weekly workshops to provide extra help, a third to a college-level statistics course with the workshops. Results for the third group surpassed those for the 2 that were in remedial courses, the researchers reported. 56% passed the statistics class, 45% passed the remedial algebra with extra help, and 39% passed the remedial class without the extra help. Logue, a former provost of the public CUNY system, said the results underscore that there are workable alternatives to remediation that could help in the national drive to raise college completion rates.
The Cortez Journal reports on the upcoming Mancos Days event. The 57th annual Mancos Days is scheduled for July 29th through the 31st. The theme for this year's festival is Desperados and Fancy Ladies. The weekend will be filled with the usual family-friendly events held in Boyle Park, according to the town administrator, Andrea Phillips. Mancos Days kicks off Friday, July 29th with kids' activities including games and a parade. Live music will follow on Friday afternoon, and art galleries will be open for Grand Summer Nights. The softball tournament also begins Friday afternoon. Devil's Dram, a local Celtic fusion band, will provide music on Friday evening. A street dance for teens will close out the first day of festivities on Friday night. South Mesa and Grand Avenue will be closed for the dance, which will feature a DJ, Phillips said. Saturday will start with a pancake breakfast and fun run. The softball tournament will continue, and volleyball and horseshoe tournaments will begin. Saturday will also feature a parade which starts at 10 a.m. Prizes will be given for the best float in 4 categories: business, individual, nonprofit, and group. Winners will be announced in the afternoon. Last year's Mancos Days was the first to feature a classic car show, and that will continue again this year on Saturday. The Mancos Days Queen will be crowned on Saturday, and a quilt made with pieces of previous queen's dresses will be given away. Adult and kids games, square dancing, and a duck race will follow, along with more live music and a spaghetti dinner at the Mancos School cafeteria. The Cliff Dwellers, a Mancos indie rock band, will provide music to round out the Saturday events. Sunday, July 30th, will feature more live music, and the softball tournament will wrap up. The Mancos Volunteer Fire Department will conduct water fights on Main Street to end the festival. To register for the parade or the softball tournament, visit the town website at mancoscolorado.com.
And now the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of June 27th through July 3rd. A county resident reported an ex-employee making threatening remarks. A county resident found a small dog on the road and took it to Leslie Taylor's for safekeeping. The owner later called dispatch and was able to be reunited. A resident reported lost keys at Weber Park. If anyone's found keys, please return them to the sheriff's office so they can be returned to the owner. A courtesy ride was given to a town resident after a report was received of a person passed out in the restrooms at the Pick and Hoe celebration. Responded to reports of aerial fireworks being set off at Bradfield Bridge. BLM was also notified. An officer on patrol reported dome lights left on inside a county vehicle parked in Rico. A pregnant dog was found abandoned in a porta-john near Rico. Rico Fire and Rescue rescued her. A Monticello man was found sleeping at Weber Park in the early morning hours during Pick and Hoe. He was given breakfast and a ride to the Utah state line by a Dolores County deputy and transported to the rest of the way by San Juan deputies. A county resident reported trespassing and theft of property. A deputy responded and the case is under investigation. A deputy assisted with a vehicle versus bear accident until a Colorado State Trooper arrived. That's it for this week's Roundup. Stay tuned next week for more updates.
In today's High Country happenings, Dolores County crop reports for barley, corn, dry beans, sorghum, safflower, sunflowers, wheat, and all other spring seeded crops must be reported by July 15, 2016. A late filing fee of $46 per farm will be charged for crop reports after July 15th. Call the Farm Service Agency at 677-2229 extension 100 to schedule an appointment. The Southwest Colorado Workforce Development Board will meet on July 13, 2016 from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the La Plata County Fairgrounds in the La Plata Room, 2500 Main Avenue, Durango, Colorado. Agenda items include General Workforce Board business. Please contact Chloe Wiebe at 970-247-0308, extension 228, if you have questions regarding this meeting. Nunn Construction has been selected as the construction manager general contractor for construction of the new senior center and public service center and shop for Dolores County in Dove Creek, Colorado. If you are interested in working on these construction projects as either a subcontractor or employee, they invite you to attend a meet and greet to get to know some Nunn Construction folks and let them get to know you. This event is planned for Thursday, July 14, 2016 at 6 p.m. at the Community Center in Dove Creek, and dinner will be served. If you are interested and will be attending, please RSVP to either Rick Fleming at rfleming@nunnconstruction.com or Margaret Daves at dcmanagerproject@phone.net. The deadline was Wednesday, July 6, 2016, but you may be able to contact them today in any event. All of the Happenings segment is posted on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays of the live show and the exclusive DCTV 5-day forecast. If you have an event, you can email us at dcbnnews@gmail.com or call the station at 677-4119, and we'll be sure to get it on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live at noon Monday through Wednesday and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. on Channel 32.1 Dolores County, on Channel 30.4 in Montezuma County, and their cable Channel 5.
Share this with a friend and watch the broadcast replayed on YouTube and now featured on the Facebook page. Please like us there and spread the word.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. We'll see you next time.